In this video, I'll be sharing a tour of both cathedrals in Liverpool, starting with the modern Catholic cathedral. I'll show you the main cathedral area as well as the crypt. After that, I'll share our visit to the Anglican cathedral in Liverpool. Stay tuned to the end when we take a tour of the tower, and I risk sticking my camera out of the tower over 300 feet in the air to get a little aerial footage of the city. We're on Mount Pleasant Street, and right behind this beautiful old building that's totally abandoned and overgrown, we can see the top of the cathedral. It's noteworthy that the bells are located here on the outside of the cathedral. That's because the central tower has stained glass windows going all the way around it, and if the bells were inside, the reverberation could damage the glass. Here in front of the cathedral is this chap. Do you think he's praying or sleeping off the effects of a very busy night last night? The sculptures are very interesting here on the facade. I actually think they kind of look South or Central American. And I'm guessing that is a liver bird. The cathedral is noteworthy because it is the largest Catholic church in the UK. Yes, walking inside, it just doesn't really feel like you're in a Catholic cathedral, I have to say. It feels more like a concert arena. But then there is some beautiful stained glass at the top. Once you spend a little time inside the cathedral, you do feel the peace and sanctuary. And the artwork and the stained glass around the ground floor do give it a feeling of the cathedral that it is. It's a very unusual altar, that's for sure. I think this is the cathedra, or the bishop's throne. It's very mid-century modern looking and not like any other cathedra I have ever seen. The choir area is also very mid-century modern looking, and those seats don't look very comfortable. The pipe organ is being refurbished, so it's behind a bunch of scaffolding. Here's the font where christenings happen. And now for a trip down to the crypt. This crypt shows the style originally intended for the Metropolitan Cathedral when it was designed by Sir Edwin Lutyens. The foundation stone was laid in 1933, and it was intended to be the largest cathedral in the world. First, they built this crypt, and the work continued until it was interrupted by World War II. Then plans for the original huge cathedral were scrapped, and the current, more modern design cathedral is what stands today. The cathedral is the site of more than just religious services, as this display describes how dance performances and other performing arts events happen here. These pyramid-shaped pillars show where the original cathedral would have gone up to. Now it is much smaller than the original grand footprint. This might seem like an odd comparison, but the cathedral reminds me a little bit of the Denver airport with its tent-like roof structure that draws a lot of attention and a lot of comparisons to other things. Scousers are known for their sense of humor, and they have made fun of this unusual architecture with a few nicknames of the cathedral, including Paddy's Wigwam and the Mersey Funnel. Hopefully no one is offended by these. I didn't come up with them. The very modern design of this Catholic cathedral stands in stark contrast to the more traditional Gothic look of the Anglican cathedral, which is located not far away. It's interesting to note, though, that both of the cathedrals were built in the 20th century. This is just one of several videos that I'm doing about Liverpool. Please make sure you subscribe and click that bell so you don't miss any of the Liverpool series. Next stop on our tour of all the Anglican cathedrals we can get to is Liverpool Cathedral. Part of being a travel vlogger, YouTuber is finding a place to get a selfie with the place you are creating a video about so that you can do your thumbnail photo. But that was difficult with Liverpool Cathedral because it is so huge and on top of a hill with not very expansive grounds surrounding it.
So this is the best shot I got. Tell me if you think this makes me look angelic, or if you just think it's a really bad photo.
This is a really big cathedral. While the cathedral definitely has its Gothic influences on it, it also has ways in which it looks like the 1960s and 70s. Kind of like visiting Sagrada Familia in Barcelona, and you see different parts of the structure have different eras that it's representing. The cathedral was built from local Woolton sandstone from only about 4 miles away. It's very pink in color, but is known to be the hardest sandstone in Britain. Further reinforcing the juxtaposition of ancient versus modern, we have this modern art installation that is currently in the cathedral. I love this archway here with the stairs on either side. It's a feature I haven't seen in other cathedrals, but it's really beautiful and inspiring. Another thing that reminds me of Sagrada Familia is this stained glass here, which is very colorful and very modern in a structure that looks like it could be centuries old. I'm surprised to see the font here in the middle of the cathedral instead of over near one of the entrances, but maybe that's just a church thing. Correct me if you know. This is a beautiful structure that the font is in, and the font cover is suspended above it in a beautiful way. It looks like a very perpendicular Gothic structure around it and cover above it. But the font itself does not look nearly as old in the style of its design. I wonder if those are the 12 apostles around it. The pulpit is very integrated into the rest of the structure, more so than I feel like I normally see. And it's made out of the same sandstone as the rest of the building. The pipe organ that's divided on either side of the choir is the most massive and also just the most suspended high up that I think I've seen. It is really fascinating. And this is where the organist sits. I just needed to show this so Ruth could see it and think about coming here and playing this organ in this massive structure with those huge pipes on either side of the choir. As far as Church of England cathedrals go, Liverpool is relatively new, with construction beginning in 1904. I believe it's the UK's newest Anglican cathedral. It took over 70 years to build, and it's the second largest cathedral in the world, with only St. Peter's in Rome being bigger. A 22-year-old architect named Giles Gilbert Scott was selected to design the structure. When you enter the cathedral, what strikes you is just the stunning amount of space, the height, the width of the area. In fact, the central area is over 200 feet long and 87 feet wide without obstruction, and the vaults are 116 feet tall. The central tower umbrella is 175 feet, just massive. As opposed to cathedrals that were built over centuries, this was only built over decades, but you can still see definite differences in the stone and the style of architecture as you walk throughout the cathedral. The high altar has a beautiful carving showing the Last Supper and the events leading up to Christ's crucifixion. The Lady Chapel is my favorite part of the cathedral. And that's often the case because the Lady Chapel is often the prettiest part of the cathedral, with all kinds of ornamentation and beautiful stained glass. Definitely the case here. I also haven't seen a separate pipe organ in a Lady Chapel before, but this one has it, and it's kind of got beautiful bluish pipes. I haven't been in many chapter houses, and while I have to say Wells Cathedral is definitely my favorite, that video is one you need to watch, this chapter house is really unique and interesting in its own way. It has an 8-sided design and shows where here the archdeacon sits, and here's where the dean of the cathedral and canons sit. This is the foundation stone, and these crests are Masonic. This Masonic symbolism around the cathedral is because the Freemasons paid for the cathedral to be built.
Now it's time to climb 108 steps up to the tall tower of the cathedral, allowing for a unique view of the bells, the top of the tower, and the city below. You can see here all the smaller bells on the sides and the big bell in the middle.
In all, the tower stands over 330 feet tall and is among the most majestic in all of England. This top of the tower is 8-sided layer, and there are 8 octagonal turrets up here. And this one turret is special because it is the tallest turret by about an inch. And up near the point of it is an inscription for Giles Gilbert Scott, the architect, and it says 1942 because that is when he came and personally placed, with the help of a stonemason, this little point on top of the turret as the crowning glory of this whole structure.
Here is the terrifying part where I take my camera through the lookout hole and try to pan around for a view of the Liverpool city and the shoreline along the River Mersey. This is a view of the Three Graces from a unique vantage point. And here's the Wheel of Liverpool, which I think resembles the London Eye, so I call it the Scouse Eye. And this is just a folding chair, but because it was magenta, it makes the vlog, hee hee. Please check out one of my other Liverpool vlogs here. Thanks so much for watching, and do something good in the world today.